and welcome to the Ren Talks podcast, a Renaissance Festival industry podcast presented by the Digital Ren Fair. My name is Victoria Van Arnhem, and I perform as the Lady Victoria. Joining me today is Nicole Skelly, performs as the Gwendolyn Show, and the lovely Margret Ebert from Barely Balanced. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi there.
I love your bangs.
Thank you. They're coming in hot today.
They're super cute.
Thank you. I wear my hair up a lot, and so I thought I need to do something. Let's do something interesting around here. I work with two guys who have exciting facial hair and tattoos and get recognized outside of the Renaissance Festival a lot. And I thought I'm going to do something a little spicy myself and see if I can catch some of that attention, I guess.
So you are with Barely Balanced, and Barely Balanced has been around for a while, and you joined it how many years ago?
I joined it. This is my 13th year of performing with Barely Balanced.
Wow. And so how did you get started? So if people don't know, Barely Balanced is an acro balance show with juggling and fire and loops and stuff like that, and other things that Margaret knows better about. And two tattooed guys with facial hair, and Margaret with really cute bangs. Is that an accurate description? and so how did you get that started? So did you have any of that experience before you started with Barely Balanced?
Our what do you call it? The elevator pitch of our show, when I go and people say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" That inevitable moment, sometimes like when I'm getting my hair done in the salon, and that like terror moment of someone asking us what we do for a living. I don't know if you guys do this. Do you do this where if I want to talk about it, I'll explain it, and I'll just accept that's what we're going to talk about the rest of the time I'm getting my hair done? Or I'll just lie and be like, I'm in administration. So the elevator sort of salon pitch is that I am part of a 3-person acrobatic show called Barely Balanced. We do acrobatics where we balance on each other. We hula hoop and juggle and do comedy in a sort of 30-minute vaudeville style show. And right now we're performing at the Renaissance Festival just down the road. So that's sort of the adventure. Yes, I started doing acrobatics around about 18 years old. I had seen it on TV. There was a section of time when I was in middle school where Bravo would play every Cirque du Soleil movie, like show, just for a week straight. And I would watch it. I'd like look forward to that week of like marathon circus. And I loved the idea of it. I lived in a very small town, so there was no chance that was gonna be a reality for me. But I got into costuming and theater, and I went to college for costume design. And the amazing school I went to, Illinois State University, has a program that it's a circus. It's essentially halfway between a club and a fraternity and an intramural sport. So they have this circus club that you can join. You audition for it, and then you practice, and every spring they put on a big show. So that's how I got involved with circus initially. And then after I graduated, my friend of mine, I was working at a Shakespeare festival with a friend of mine, and she said, "Hey, let's make big dresses. Like, do you want to go to a Renaissance fair as an excuse to make dresses?" And we're like, "Yeah, we have access to the costume shop. Let's do it." So we went together. We had a good time. I saw the Barely Balanced show, and then sent them a message, basically like, "Oh, you do acrobatics. I do that too." And we just got to talking, and then cut to like a year or two later, Cameron and I started dating. He is my husband now, who is in the show. And so we were dating for like 2 months when a previous member of the show said she was going to leave at the end of the season. It was July, and she's like, this is my last season. I'm going to leave in November when we're done performing for the year. And Cameron and I were like, "This is a terrible idea. We just started dating. We don't even know if we like each other." So anyway, by November, we figured out it maybe would work. So that's kind of how I got absorbed initially. And now after some time, I do feel like it is my show. It's as well. I joined it, but now it's my show also.
Absolutely. After you've been there for 13 years, like, yeah, you licked it. It's yours now. And I'm not talking about Cameron. I meant the show. Anyway,
Both. All of the above.
So that's really awesome. I love that you had the guts to send a message to Barely Balanced after seeing them. I find as a performer, when I see other performers, I'm like, hey, you're cool. I do things like that, and I want to talk to you about it. I always feel like it has the tendency to come up as either pretentious or something like that. And I also like, when I worked for the New Riders of the Golden Age, the joust company, and I would meet other joust companies, I'd be like, I ride horses too. Can we talk about horses? I like to brush them. And there were a couple, I tried to do that with a couple different other people, and they were kind of like, and so it didn't work. So now I always err on the side of caution. And if I want to talk to people about this thing that we both do, so kudos to you for being like, hey, I know what you guys do. I do it too. And then dating Cameron.
It is. I absolutely get what you're saying, because maybe it was just being young and dumb and like not, being like, sure, I'll reach out. Why not? What could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, and it did just happen to be organic and friendly. And Cameron and I chatted for about a year before we started dating. So I had just seen the show. It's not like I was like, hey, I do this thing that you do. Can we hang out next week? And like, you can teach me all your tricks and I'll teach you tricks. And that's an interesting dynamic. I think we do that sometimes now. Sometimes acrobats will reach out. Even this morning, I got a message that said, hey, I saw a picture of this stunt. Can you show me a video of how you guys got into it? I'd like to try it with my acro class. And I think it takes a lot of confidence on both parts to reach out like that and assume this is a business, but maybe people want to share information, and confidence from the other side, on my side, which has taken a long time to grow, to say, yeah, I'll share that with you. That's not a threat to me and my business and my life for you to also perform the same stunts that I do. So that takes time, but I get it. I get that initial feeling you're talking about.
And I get the other feeling that now as the performer that people are coming to that are like, hey, can you da-da-da? And I either get really nervous or I get really, really scared that I'm like, but I tell stories. You can't do it either. No, nervous or scared. No, those together. Or I get really excited. That was the other word. I had a patron recently get in touch with me and ask about how to research the Elizabethan period because they're interested in auditioning for their Renaissance Festival next season. And I was like, these are the books I used. I will find out what their audition material is for you. And then we can have a Zoom meeting and talk about it. And we'll go over all their stuff they do in rehearsal. I got really, really excited about it. So yeah, it's a pendulum for me.
I feel that, because it is life experience helps. Early on, if we would work with other people, I would be very protective of stunts I felt like were very unique to our show. They're like, sure, we can teach you stunts that lots of people know, but if we feel like we invented it, I would be so protective. But now over time, people have come and gone. There have been other acrobatic acts that have popped up, who've popped up for a little bit and then gone away, or people who seem interested, but they just do it in such a different way. And there are other acrobatic shows on the circuit, and we're friends with all of them. I think all the ones that I've met, I've heard of lots of them, but the ones that we know, we're friends with, because there is room for all of us. It turns out, different styles, we all present it differently, and it turns out audience members can like more than one thing.
Isn't that interesting about audience members? I have to remind myself about that too. Like, and the other thing is if you're doing a stunt and someone else does a stunt, it's not you and Cameron and Ari, it's those people. So they'll never, even if they did the same exact show or the same exact stunts with the same lines, they'll never do it the way that you do it. Just like for me, no one ever is going to tell a story like I do it, because it's ridiculous. And no one's ever going to play a hammered dulcimer in a show the way that Victoria does it. So even if it's the same music, it's not the same thing.
I don't know. I've never been booked at the same fair as Vince, though. So I'm just assuming that, we're interchangeable completely.
Are you the same person? Have you ever been seen in the same place?
Ooh.
So Margret, since you became one of Barely Balanced, one of them. So 13 years ago. So I assume, just like all of us who are doing Renaissance Festival shows, interactive comedy shows at festivals, that your personality or on stage personality, your character or the stunts, and that changes and evolves throughout the time you're there. So like, what are some of the bigger changes that you think that you have made on stage? I'm going to talk a lot with my hands to cover up the fact that I'm reaching for words.
Yeah, it was metaphorical hand reaching. That's a good call. And honestly, if we talk about confidence and performing, it took at least 3 or 4 years to get to the point where I started to feel ownership over the show. Because you're right, stepping into the show and performing someone else's material as a comedian is very strange. And comedy is strange in that way, where you can either sell it or you can't. And I do a lot of physical comedy. I like making faces. I like silly physical motions. And so I really enjoyed trying to work more of that into it. And the verbal part of it has gotten better over time. There's some stuff that I just never got and we cut it from the show. There's other stuff that I learned to take and kind of make it my own and perform it in a different way. For us too, flexibility is a big factor. So there's some stunts that, like, I do not have a lot of back flexibility, but the person in the show before me did. So she was able to perform stunts with back bends, and that is just not, I can do a back bend, but like I can't do it 4 times a day, consistently. So changing some of that stuff, learning what my strengths are as an athlete and as a comedian, that's huge. So now, for us, the easiest way to do that is to put a completely new stunt in. So the way the show is set up, if people haven't seen it, is we essentially do vignettes where we build a stunt slowly, piece by piece, over about 5 minutes. And so we're cracking jokes while we're getting into position and climbing the stunt. The easiest way to get a new personality in the show is to put a brand new stunt in the show. Because you can sub out a line or emotion, but to just completely start from scratch and have one vignette, one stunt that is just mine is massive. So, that definitely, I would say, took at least 3 years to even start to feel like I didn't have imposter syndrome, and that the show is mine a little bit more.
That's fun. I like that idea, like to change, to evolve your personality, adding just a completely new thing, because then growing that organically from scratch becomes like, that's too how you get it right inside you, make it your own and everything.
Yeah. And I've also learned how to write comedy with a team, which is a huge skill to learn. I, before this, had done a little bit of comedy, mostly clowning, sort of mime clowning, was very new to talking on stage. And so when I would write ideas, I would have a notebook and I would write by myself. And it is a real skill to shift that to sitting in a room with 2 other people and saying like, this moment, the energy's high. and it feels like we need something right here after this line to carry the energy through into the next stunt. Right now, there's nothing there, and it feels like the energy drops, and then we have to try to build it back up again. So what about something like a joke about your teeth or like your foot position? Or is there something here? It's a new skill to just think out loud like that, because the guys are great at picking it up and going, oh, okay, I think I get what you're saying. Here's some words for it. Or vice versa. Is also a skill to have a joke that I believe in and circle back to it. So comedy writing, when we get together and get coffee and do comedy writing, it is, I'm sure it sounds so weird from the outside, because it's just like, what about some idea where we like threaten a kid? And then the other person will be like, no, that's not it. But what about this? And then it will go, oh yeah, how about this or that? And sometimes I'll come back and be like, no, this idea I had earlier, I really believe in it. I think I can sell it. And that takes some good chops and experience to get to the point where you're like, okay, I love that joke suggestion. I can't sell the line that way. That's a joke you could sell. That's not I know I've tried jokes like that. I can't sell that. But what about this? I can really sell this. And kind of find that push and pull between communicating with the team, knowing yourself, knowing them, knowing your strengths, and fighting for what you believe in, or presenting an idea and not feeling bad in any way that somebody just shuts it down and throws it out. You're like, great, on to the next thing. So that is definitely, as a person and as a team, I think we have spent a lot more time than people maybe think about doing. It takes us about an hour to write 5 minutes of onstage comedy, at least. So
that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And the last bit you said too, and one of the things that working with a couple different people or just talking about comedy and festival shows specifically with other people is you got to be ready to like let something go if it's not working on stage, or you're with your partners, your comedy partners, your show partners, and they're like, no, I don't think that works. And then you can't get upset about it too much. You can later and be like, but you can't, because you're all working together. And I love too that you mentioned that you can sell that line, I can't sell that line, or vice versa, or whatever. Like knowing each other's comedy rhythm is really important. And that's one of those things that I like, the acty stuff, and being in that kind of connection with your show partners and that kind of same brainwave with your partners to be like, oh, I know a great joke for you. I bet you could do this because this fits with your personality, or saying, I can't do that, but I think it's a good joke. So why don't you try it, or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how other people write comedy. We have characters in the show. Some comedy, like sitcom comedy, those characters are very, very clear from the get-go. We are getting there. Our comedy right now tends to be, we think of jokes and then we split up who's going to say what based on what seems most likely for each character. So we think of the actual comedy first, then the character afterwards, is our approach. But it is interesting because I am also learning what my perspective is as a lady, because it is, I am a lady and I work with 2 guys, and I have for a long time. And so part of that is also learning if a joke gets shut down, every once in a while now the idea will pop in to say, okay, is that because it's genuinely not funny? I find it funny. And then I'll think, wait, is this a joke written by a woman for a woman? And if I feel like it is, I might come back to it and be like, hey, I think this joke could land. I'm going to explain to you why it's funny. I think this is going to hit hard with women. And they're great. And they do trust me on that stuff because it's just different perspectives. So that's kind of cool. I appreciate that I have a team that is supportive of that, because that can be a tricky thing to be like, I don't get it, but you seem confident. Let's give it a try.
That's huge. I love hearing that. Like, I am not surprised, but I love hearing about those nuts and bolts about you and working with them, because it is really important, especially now in the past handful of years, to take into consideration, oh, is this a dude joke making a dude joke for dudes to laugh about dude stuff? Or is this a lady joke to make ladies laugh about lady stuff? Or this is a joke written by a lady to make everyone laugh about something, or written by a dude to make everyone, so being conscientious of that in general for the majority of festival performers, I think is something that is, top of the brain when we're writing our shows. But then on top, or to related to that Venn diagram to that, is having you talk to your partners and being able to dissect why it's funny for one person and why it's not as funny for someone else. And to be able to talk about that stuff, I think is really awesome.
It is really cool. And yeah, it has become more of a topic. It has been a topic for a bit, but it's coming to Ren fairs. This idea, we are an inclusive space. Ren fairs see a higher than average amount of people in the rainbow, people all over the spectrum, people with ADHD or autism, or we just get lots of different people. I think in a higher degree than just like society. Like we are a safe zone, I hope, for a lot of people to come in and have fun. So it's cool that conversation's coming to Renaissance festivals, and it is tricky. I know a lot of people are doing it, but it's tricky to try to see perspective that isn't your own. I know that for us, one of the struggles is some of our jokes are based on our body positions. Like if we're doing an acrobatic stack, it starts with the base, who's a guy, and then the middle, who's a guy, and then I come in at the end. And often, if somebody's butt is in somebody else's face, if we don't make a joke about it, the audience will. So we're going to try to get there first. And the challenge sometimes can be, hey, is this a joke because you're looking at a butt and it's funny? Or is the joke completely predicated on the idea that a guy looking at another guy's butt is wrong and therefore funny? So we have that. We do have an open invitation with we have some stage managers and different people who, none of us are queer, none of us are within the rainbow community, so things like that. We do have some stage managers and people we trust we've given an open invitation to say, hey, if you see something, say something. Like, I don't want to look dumb up there. Like, I don't want to make people feel bad. So if you see something, let us know. And it's cool. We have gotten some nice feedback or perspectives on that. And it helps too to be like, oh, okay, great. Yeah. Something felt weird about that trick to me. I want to change it too. And this is great motivation to do it. So.
That's awesome too. I think I said awesome like 20 times so far. Victoria, can I later say a bunch of words that are synonyms for awesome, and you can just dub them in when you edit the podcast?
I think I'd rather do like an awesome count, to be honest. So I'll just like ding you every single time you say that. So
awesome.
You stole my line.
only if you record the synonyms in like a completely different background with like a completely different makeup too. That would be perfect.
So a lot of us, probably every single Renaissance Festival performer, gets asked what we do during the week because we only work 2 days a week. And I know that Barely Balanced, not only are you training during the week, like I walk past your stages and you're stretching and doing stuff regularly during the week, but you do a ton of social media and you have merch and you have Patreon. And so our viewers and listeners want to know what you do during the week, Margret.
Oh yeah, I do. This is a very funny question to me because you're right. We do get asked this a lot. And when I joined the show, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, at the time I had like 3 different part-time jobs. I was driving all over Chicago, trying to make it costume design, wigs. I just was never not working. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I get to do acrobatics and I only have to work 2 days a week. And then I was like, oh, nope. It's, I like to think of it a little more like a nurse's schedule, and that it's 2 days of work at the Ren Fair is like a 5-day work week of energy, in my opinion. So it's more of that nurse's schedule of like, you're really intensely on for a bit, then you're off for a bit. So we do train. We perform on Saturdays and Sundays. We do 4 shows each day with stilts in between. So that can feel like one big long day. That's the performance side. And then 3 days a week, midweek, we train together as a team. So we're learning new stunts. We are doing a lot of strength training, flexibility to try to maintain what we need to do the show. And yeah, if people do want to know more about that, we do have a Patreon page. We're Barely Balanced everywhere. We're on social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon. So if people want to see bonus videos and really get into the nitty gritty of what we're training, the form, a lot more of the details of what we're thinking about when we're performing, they can find that stuff on Patreon for sure. We do a little bit of it on our social media as well. So if you want to know kind of what we're working on and what's coming up next for Barely Balanced, this season when we come to your town, that's definitely a little bit of a bonus for people there.
And so also, I just see all the time that you're coming out with more different merchandise and different souvenir things that people can buy at your shows with buttons and games and comic book. You had a graphic novel, comic book. Go tell about those, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, I laugh because we are a small business, and anyone who runs and owns a small business knows that your days off are not days off. Like, you don't have days off. So when we're on our days off, AKA not physically training, we are making merch products and doing social media and making costumes. We're doing all the other things. So our newest thing, we try to have one merch product out each season. We like to have a new thing each season for people who like to see the show. This year, our brand new thing is a D&D module, and it's been selling really well. People seem to like it. I'm excited about it. The idea is that you are a brand new player, level 1, and you have attended the Renaissance Festival, and something goes wrong. A magic spell explodes in the festival. So anyone who came to the festival dressed in costume becomes a D&D character. Anyone who came in plain clothes that day becomes a zombie, TM. And so the idea is you have to solve the mystery of why this spell went wrong, put things back together by going into different scenarios. So whether that is coming to the Barely Balanced show or the Washing Well Wenches show, or going shopping, or fighting a porta potty that may or may not be a mimic, you sort of have to defeat these different scenarios and solve the mystery. So that is going super well. I'm really happy with it. It seems like people who like Renaissance festivals also like Dungeons and Dragons. Whoa.
The Venn diagram that's almost a circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have that. We also have a card game for people who just like tabletop games, where you get small, medium, and large cards. The artwork on each card has one of us on it, and we're in different dynamic poses, some of which are more unique than others. So if you can put a stunt together that involves a lot of unique aspects, it's worth more points than your opponent. So you got the regular game, you kind of build stunts, and in the expansion pack, you get to knock over other people's stunts and block them. So yeah, we're trying to come up, we have stickers, we have different things, but we just are having fun trying to think of what else we can do with Barely Balanced that's still kind of on brand for us and our show and Renaissance festivals that we think people would enjoy, because they're things we also like doing.
And if you like the stuff that you're making and selling to your patrons who also like doing your shows, if you like doing it, they're going to like you doing it too. And that is a different level of connection to have with your patrons. If someone's on stage and they are in the back of their mind, they're like, I don't want to be doing this right now. I wish I wasn't here. I wish I was at McDonald's eating French fries. the audience can feel it, even if you don't say it or don't express it, they can feel it. Or if you're selling something just to sell something that is not, like, to me, a meaningful part, like it's reminiscent of your show, it reminds the person of the experience, or it's related for like you guys, it's related to things that you love to do as well. Like if you're like, I just want to sell this, I'm looking around my room, what do I have? This clock. I just want to sell this clock for no reason. I feel like that's not nice to do to your patrons a little bit, right? You don't have to agree with me. But
no, I do. I absolutely agree. And that's if the less it relates and the less unique a merch product is, to me, the more it comes across as disingenuous. And if we want to think of it completely skeptical, the less will sell. Right? You're right. People, the reason overall people want to buy a merch product is the memory of the day they had at the fair. So yeah, having something that is really personal to us, it's a lot more work than like a buy and resell kind of situation. But I feel like so much more proud of that. It's a different kind of scary to, like, we do the show, we write the jokes, but it's a different kind of nervous to make a merch product and hope people like that too. But the payoff is that they do, and then that feeling is even better.
So I was trying to count as we were going along how many different hats you wear as yourself in your life. So you're an acrobat, you juggle, you hula hoop, you stretch real good. I need to learn how to do a split. You are costumer maker, costume designer, clown, mime, circus. That's at least 10. Writer, comedian, 12. Good bangs, 13.
Oh, wait, how do you know I'm a good bangs. I'm not gonna disagree with you, I guess, but whatever, throw it in there. I'll take all the hats I can wear. but yes, we do all of those things, and hopefully some social media mixed in. And I think that's everything. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things to metaphorically juggle and think about. We'll see. The future of business, I think, is trying to not do all of it ourselves. There is a lot of value in reaching out. So who knows? The future might be, I design the costumes, I've made the patterns. Maybe I'll hire someone else to put them together for us. Or, we do reach out. We don't do our own artwork. We have a really amazing guy who does our stickers and our signs for the show and all of the visual stuff, named Thomas Boatwright. I would shout him out all day. He's amazing. He really has gotten the cartoon look of our brand. So I love the idea of maybe reaching out, because they say as you get older, happiness comes in the form of handing off the things you can. So focus on the things you want to. So who knows? Maybe that's the future. But anyway, to throw it out there, the secret to doing splits. Come in close, everyone. I'll give you the secret. The secret is, don't stretch for 2 hours a day once a week. It will not help you. If you could do, I know this is advice people give all the time, but if you can do 10 minutes a day, every day, you'll get there infinitely quicker than doing it once a week. Also tracking your progress and actually looking at what you're doing. Take into account your body's not going to be the same every day, so don't expect to make progress every day. But if overall you are actually paying attention to how low you're getting your splits, and if you are getting lower and lower, if you're not, then what you're doing isn't working. So whatever method you subscribe to, if it's a personal coach or a YouTube channel or an Instagram post, whatever it is, like, pay attention to if it's actually working or not, and just do a little bit all the time. That's every circus skill, is just a little bit at a time. And maybe like once every 2 months, like take pictures all the time. And then once every 2 months, look back at them and be proud of yourself because you have made progress. It's very easy to not do that.
It's very easy to not do that. So easy to not do that. That's why I don't know how to do a split yet.
You know what though? Is it a priority? Do you need to set aside and push back other things in your life in order to accomplish this?
Probably.
Okay, if so, then great. Yeah, get on it. Let's do it.
Okay, so Barely Balanced is an immensely popular circuit act at Renaissance festivals, and you are busy a lot all over the country. What's in store for the rest of 2023 for Barely Balanced? Where can people find you aside from your amazing Patreon?
Ooh, this is a perfect, flawless lead-in. We're in Georgia right now at the Georgia Renaissance Festival for the next few weeks till the beginning of June. I'm very excited. We're taking June off, so I get to see my family, which I love. Then in July, we will start up at the Bristol Renaissance Festival in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We're off to Maryland for a brief stop for about 2 or 3 weekends in September. So Maryland people, please keep an eye on the website. You know, they do a lot of partial runs there, and we'll be popping in. And I get to see you, Nicole, which will be lovely. We'll get to see you there. After that, we will finish out our year at the North Carolina Festival near Charlotte for October, November.
And so one of the things I've been waiting to ask you this whole time is, what is one of your most favorite on-stage experiences that you've had?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a hard question to answer. That's why so many.
Yeah, that's why I say one of your favorite, because you can't pick one.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many good ones. I love it in general when the audience is more funny than we are. If it's become my favorite part of the show when people with very good timing and comedy will yell things, because when I started performing, I just thought, this is it. Like classic circus, everything needs to be polished, same show every time. If you mess up, just keep going, pretend it didn't happen. And now when there's a moment like that, I just stop and are like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let's do that now. So tangenting is one of my favorite things. Goofy people, goofy kids. I will tell you in general, probably my favorite thing in performing is when little kids laugh. They're young enough that they're just picking up on the energy of the crowd and they're laughing and cheering, but they don't really know why. Sometimes they will giggle at completely inappropriate times. They're having fun, but they're just, timing is quite crazy. So that is one of those things in my heart, that I hear them laughing at nothing, and it brings me a lot of joy in the middle of the show.
I had that happen a couple times, but there's one particularly loud kid laughing at one of my shows in Maryland where I had to everyone could hear him. So I had to stop, and he just kept going. And I was like, no, I'm just going to put you on stage. I'll leave. You can just sit here and laugh the rest of the time.
Yes. When we had a kid just walk up one time, multiple times, we've had children just walk up on stage. Thankfully, several times it's happened, it has not been while we're doing a stunt. We've been between stunts, but we have this walking ladder that if you imagine a regular ladder, it's like one half of that. So it's like a freestanding ladder. And we had just gotten it out. Cameron, my husband, was about to climb it. And this kid just like walked up on stage, and we were like, yeah, sure. Who are you? So we're like, hey, do you want to do a stunt? You're going to climb the ladder today. And the kid was such a ham that we just like we spotted them and helped them and let them climb the ladder. And they took a bow. We're like, does anybody own this kid? No? Okay. So we just hung out with this kid for like at least 5 full minutes of the show until someone from the back was like, oh crap, that's mine. And I walked up and got her. But we could have hired her that day. She was amazing. So.
Unattended children at festival shows can be the most hysterical thing, or the opposite. But usually they're the most hysterical thing. I like when I see a kid approaching my stage and they're just out, they're right in front and they're going, this happened the other day, they're going towards the stairs to get to my stage. And I have to be like, what are you doing? Who are you? And they kind of look at me and then they turn around and they kind of leave again. Yes,
Like,
the cartooner's talking to you. It's awesome. Power of get away from me, kid. You're bothering me.
there you go. Oh, wait, it looked at me. Uh-oh, that's a person up there.
You mean she can see me? It's not Dora the Explorer.
Right. We do say, this is our last thing. We do in the show right now. Cameron and I and Ari too, we all have friends who have young kids. And so we watch Bluey a lot. If you do not watch Bluey the cartoon, I'm shouting out too, because it is the cutest cartoon in the world. So anyway, we do a joke in our show right now where a kid looks scared and Cameron will say, hey, don't worry, we're gonna be fine. I'm a fictional character. I'll say, it's all like, this is just a really elaborate episode of Bluey. Like, today's episode is called Concussion. And it brings me joy because though half the audience understands it, but the ones that do are a nice mixture of laughter and like, oh, I love that show. It's just cute.
That's so fun. It's interesting to me. Maybe it's just ages or our ages in life or whatever, but I know way more children's shows right now than I did 7-10 years ago.
Yeah, I hope they're getting better. I think maybe that's why. Like, I don't know. But also, like, friends have kids, things like that. Who knows? It's nice to be able to speak kid language, even though, like, I don't have children myself. It is they're fascinating, and it's fun to be able to speak their language sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not mad about knowing the children's shows. I like Peppa Pig. So,
oh yeah, Peppa's marathon.
Yeah.
She knows what's up.
Yeah.
This is like such a deep question, I think, maybe. What do you think is the most unique thing that you experience as a solo female performer that other people who are on a team or are just a solo man or whatever, like what is something as a solo female performer other people wouldn't initially guess?
That is a really deep question.
I didn't prep you for this at all.
There was no rehearsal or comedy writing meeting. It's so different. Like, I love working with partners, and I've had some really fantastic show partners in my life, and I love having that. I think that, and this goes back to when you were saying you have people that yell out stuff in your show and have good comedic timing and say the funny things. Something that people might not initially think is like, even though I'm solo on stage, the audience is my partner essentially. And so I'm not up there just doing my thing by myself, exclusionary of everybody who's watching me. So the audience becomes my partner. And not only when I have a volunteer on stage, do I want to make them look good or elevate them, that's also with the whole audience. So when I hear someone say something or react differently, I can call them out in a like, oh, that was great, or oh my God, I can't believe you said that, but in a funny way. So being able to give those little drive-by lane work where you're like, hey, 2 sentences to one person, you keep going to the next person as your character, like 2 sentences to them. But it's like that in the show, where I can refer to people and be like, oh, blue shirt guy, what did you just say? Who are you looking at? That was really funny. Do it again. I have a part in my show where I say, the goose squawked and laid an egg right in the middle of the floor. And I do this. And now the audience makes noises that sound like a squawk or a plop or a squish or like it's all different ones. It's terrifying, but then it's funny. So I can make them do it again, and they do it louder. And then everyone gets to laugh at the silliness that we all created. And that is something, I guess, that's unique, but something that I love regardless. That's one of my favorite things, is that we get to do this whole thing together. I went to school for music education, and I became a band director. I taught middle school for a couple of years. And one of my favorite, and the reason I did music ed is because that feeling that when you're in a musical ensemble, chorus or band, and you are all playing the same piece of music, and you're playing your part, and you're working together to make this beautiful sound for other people to listen to. And you just kind of have to, like, I play flute, so you just have to, like, close your eyes for a second and, like, be in that moment. And that happens with ensemble performances, musicals, musical theater, whatever theater, and happens as well too with me, with my partners. Like, oh, this is so much extra fun because we're all together working to make this fun experience. And now it's even expanded more than just having one partner on stage, to, like, however many people are in my audience. And hopefully everyone's all together having that one moment of laughing all together and being a group of people who have never met each other. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, that conversation. I do think live performers especially, spend a lot of time thinking about how to craft a fun back and forth conversation in this particular comedic setting. And I think that's where the magic comes from, is everybody, when we all are on the same page, vibing and together in the conversation. It's a cool feeling.
It really is. Yay.
Yay.
Thank you for that question.
Performing is cool. Some might say it's awesome.
Someone, I don't know who would say that. I would say it's fantastic and awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ren Talks. If you'd like to catch these podcast episodes early, please check out the Digital Ren Fair Patreon to support more content like this. My name is Victoria Van Arnhem. You can find me anywhere online as the Lady Victoria. And joining me today have been two fantastic individuals.
I'm Nicole Skelly. I perform as the Gwendolyn in The Gwendolyn Show. And yes, I named that on purpose. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.
And I am Margret Ebert. I am part of the acrobatic comedy show called Barely Balanced. I'm the girl one. You can also find us anywhere online, Barely Balanced. That's us.
Goodbye.
Yay! Thank you.